Movies and games both have their own unique strengths. They're not the same medium, even if both rely heavily on visuals and storytelling. But sometimes, games manage to pull off things that movies just can't match. They give you control. They put the camera in your hands, and suddenly, you're living it. As always, I'm Daniel, and today, 15 games that make you feel like you're playing a movie. And just a heads up, these games are in no specific order. It's not a rank list. And without any further ado, let's get right into the video.
The number one killer is time. It destroys us all. This is what you need to know.
All right, starting us off at number 15 is Quantum Break. Now, this game is literally a movie, or a TV show, to be more precise. Jack Joyce gets called to a university by his best friend, Paul Serene, to help with a top-secret project. Turns out it's a time machine, and as you'd probably expect from the first act of any sci-fi story, the experiment goes catastrophically wrong. The incident fractures time itself and gives both Jack and Paul incredible time-bending powers. Jack can manipulate time on a small scale, while Paul can see into the future, and it drives him to create this ruthless corporation, Monarch Solutions, to save the world in his own twisted way. The gameplay, pure remedy. If you've ever played Alan Wake or Control, you know what I'm talking about. It's this incredibly slick, stylish third-person shooter, but your guns are almost secondary. The real stars of the show are your time powers. You can do this time dodge, that's basically a short-range teleport, letting you zip behind cover or right up to an enemy's face. You can throw up a time shield to block bullets, but my favorite, you can create these big time stop bubbles. You can just freeze an enemy in place, unload an entire magazine into the bubble, and then when you release it, all of those bullets hit him at the exact instant. The game is broken up into acts. You'll play a 45-minute chunk as Jack Joyce, and then the game stops, making you watch a high production value live action TV episode. It stars actors you'll recognize, like Sean as the hero and Aiden Littlefinger from Game of Thrones as the villain. Lance Reddick is in it. And the show follows the side characters. It shows you what the people at Monarch are doing while you're off being a superhero. You even get to, you see, at the end of each gameplay act, you actually take control of the villain, Paul Serene. You get to see a glimpse of two possible futures, and you have to make a junction choice that dictates how Monarch will proceed. Your choice directly changes things in the next gameplay segment, and it changes the content of the live-action episode you're about to watch. It's such a unique way of telling a story, letting you see the conflict from both sides. At number 14, we have The Last of Us Part 1. Now, I feel like Ellie is the main reason this game was so good to me. Her as a character is exactly how a 14-year-old is meant to be, especially one who's only ever known a broken world. She's dramatic, she's impulsive, she's got this biting, sarcastic wit, but underneath it all, she's full of this incredible life and curiosity. She's never seen the world as it was, so when you have those quiet moments, seeing a herd of giraffes, or her just pulling out a terrible book of puns, it just grounds the entire experience in this beautiful human way. The relationship she builds with Joel is one of the best ever written in any medium, because it's so genuine. It doesn't happen overnight. It starts with him seeing her as just cargo, a job, and she sees him as just some grumpy old guy. But over the course of their journey, through all the horror and the loss, you see that bond form piece by piece. It's earned through these little moments of trust and shared trauma. And I absolutely love the fact that Joel didn't just throw a gun in her hands at the start. He's so fiercely, almost suffocatingly protective of her.
Do you even realize what your life means? Huh?
The fact that he's teaching her how to survive, making her a resourceful, observant survivor first and a fighter second, that's just genuinely great storytelling. It feels real. There is not a single ounce of fat on this game's story. Yeah, I mean that. Every single encounter, every quiet beat, every person you meet serves a purpose in building that central relationship. The side characters, too, they feel like real desperate survivors. Bill with his paranoid, lonely existence in his booby-trapped town, or Henry and Sam who are just trying to find a safe place. Nobody feels like a simple plot device. They feel like real people who have been shaped and broken by this world, and their stories are they're heartbreaking. And all of this is set against this backdrop of beautiful decay. Nature is like reclaiming the cities, and the environments tell their own stories without a single word of dialogue. That desperation is baked into the gameplay too. You're constantly scrounging for supplies, counting your bullets, crafting shivs that might break after one use. Every fight is a brutal, ugly, and tense scramble for survival. It all flows together so seamlessly, from the stealth gameplay right into these gut-punching, perfectly acted cutscenes that you never ever get pulled out of the experience.
I'm afraid.
There is nothing to be afraid of, Mr. Morgan.
Moving on to number 13 is Red Dead Redemption 2. There are like so many things that make this game feel like you're living inside a movie. And yeah, of course, the number one thing is the story. But even besides that, just existing in this world, that alone could be its own little drama. You might get ambushed by rival gang members, stumble upon a guy who's been bitten by a snake and needs help, or just decide to track a legendary buck through the mountains for hours. The world doesn't feel like it was built for you. It feels like it was there long before you arrived, and it'll be there long after you're gone. It breathes.
You gonna take the old man into town? Take us too?
Well, what you got planned?
Nothing. We'll find something for y'all to do. We always do.
We're bored out of our minds. Been cooped up here for 2 weeks now. Karen's about ready to murder Grimshaw.
The pacing is so slow and deliberate, but then you get to the actual story. The age of outlaws and gunslingers are dying. Vanderlyn Gang is a relic of that dying age. On the run after a heist in a town called Blackwater goes horribly wrong, and they're trying to outrun a world that doesn't want them anymore. And the heart of the story is watching this family, this gang, just completely unravel. You're the one in the thick of it, the enforcer who has to see if the ideals Dutch preaches still line up with the brutal reality of what the gang is becoming. And all the while, you see the seeds of the future being planted. You see a younger, more reckless John Marston there with his wife and son, a man who is desperately trying to figure out what his place is in all this chaos.
John!
The entire epic journey is a beautiful, heartbreaking tale that has to end tragically so that another story, one we already know, can even have a chance to begin, which is, of course, Red Dead Redemption 1.
Mother? You know you're not supposed to be here.
I know, but something attacked Leon in the forest.
At number 12 is the A Plague Tale series, and man, these games are something special. They're more like a dark, gut-wrenching independent games that just sticks with you for weeks. Amicia de Rune, a young noble girl in 14th century France, you have to protect your little brother Hugo after the Inquisition invades your home and kills your parents. So now you're two kids, alone, on the run, in a country that's being ravaged by war and the plague. And when I say the plague, I'm talking about the disease, obviously, but I'm also talking about the rats. We're talking literal supernatural tsunamis of rats, a swarming, chittering ocean of death that devours anything that isn't standing in the light. This series is so cinematic because of its absolute laser focus on its story and its characters. This is a world that is just relentlessly bleak. It's oppressive. But the whole experience is anchored by this powerful emotional bond between Amicia and Hugo. We're talking phenomenal voice acting and the kind of writing that is just so good.
Mommy won't be happy when she finds out I fell in the water.
You'll go from these gorgeous, sun-drenched French countrysides to these corpse-choked, rat-infested cities, and the contrast is just staggering. Requiem, the sequel, is honestly one of the best-looking games personally. It's crazy because you're not a soldier, you're not some chosen one. Amicia starts with nothing but a sling, so the gameplay is like both stealth and puzzle solving. Fighting your way through is not really the point, surviving is. You're using fire to carve a path through the rats, distracting guards. You always feel vulnerable. You always feel like you're just one mistake away from being overwhelmed. It's a harrowing journey, but it's an absolutely unforgettable one. You know, it just feels more like a very great medieval movie.
All right, let's move this beast.
Jason!
Next up at number 11 is Heavy Rain, and this is one of those games that when it came out, it just felt different. Quantic Dream, and the whole thing is centered around the hunt for a serial killer known as the Origami Killer, who kidnaps young boys and drowns them in rainwater. Dropped right into the lives of 4 different people whose stories all weave together around this mystery. You have Ethan, the father of the killer's latest victim, who is put through these absolutely horrific trials to try and save his son. You have Madison, a journalist who gets involved. You have Norman Jayden, an FBI profiler, using futuristic augmented reality glasses to investigate crime scenes. And you have Scott Shelby, a private investigator asking questions about the killer's past victims. Everything is done through like button presses and stick movements, performing actions to care for your son, or you're frantically waggling the controller to fight someone off in a desperate struggle. Heavy Rain doesn't give a fuck about any of the 4 main characters, like any of them can die, and I don't mean you get a game over screen and have to restart, I mean they die permanently, and the story just keeps going without them. You might miss huge chunks of the plot, or end up with the worst possible ending simply because you failed a single sequence. The weight of that is immense. It makes every choice, every action feel incredibly important. It's famous now for how often you have to press a button to desperately scream your son's name. Yeah, Sean! But beyond the memes, it's a grim, intense experience that puts the weight of its story directly onto your shoulders in a way few games had ever dared to before. At number 10, we have Mafia Definitive Edition. And you know, out of all the games on this list, this one might just be the one that fits the title the most perfectly. It feels like it is a classic 1930s gangster film that you just happen to be in control of. The first thing you have to understand is that this isn't your typical open-world crime game. It's not a sandbox for you to just cause chaos in. The city of Lost Heaven is a meticulously crafted stage. Tommy Angelo, just a normal cab driver, struggling to get by during the Great Depression. Then one night, completely by chance, he has a run-in with a couple of mobsters from the Salieri crime family, and that's it. That one single moment sends his life careening down a completely different path. He gets a taste of the life, the sharp suits, the fancy cars, the fear and respect he commands, and he gets seduced by it. You play through his entire career, watching him go from a nervous, reluctant wheelman to a trusted, high-ranking maidman. The way the story is told is just masterful. It's all about the details that bring the era to life. The cars handle like real cars from the 30s. The music on the radio, the architecture, the way people talk, it's all there to pull you into this very specific time and place. Tommy eventually builds relationships with his partners in crime, the hot-headed Polly and the more level-headed Sam. The banter between them as they're driving to a job, the arguments, the loyalty, you really feel like you become part of this tight-knit, dysfunctional family. To just cut the long story short, Mafia Definitive Edition is a genuine gangster epic.
Smoke near it? Yeah, it's safe. Boom!
Next up at number 9 is Ghost of Tsushima.
This is without a doubt the greatest samurai games I have ever had the chance to play, and I really hope Yote feels the same. Jin Sakai, a samurai on the island of Tsushima during the first Mongol invasion of Japan. You're there for the first battle on the beach, and you watch as the samurai and their rigid code of honor are utterly annihilated by the invaders' brutal, pragmatic tactics. Jin is one of the last survivors, and he's faced with this impossible choice. Does he stick to the honorable code that he was raised on, the code that just got everyone he knows killed, or does he betray that code, embrace the shadows, and become something terrifying to save his home? That conflict is the heart of the entire game. You feel Jin's struggle in everything you do. It's pure cinema. Making you sneak through a camp in the dead of night using smoke bombs and assassination techniques. Tactics that make Jin's own uncle call him a coward, a man without honor. The game constantly forces you to confront that duality. You follow the wind. You'll be riding your horse and a gust of wind will kick up, guiding you towards your objective by rustling the leaves on the trees and the grass on the fields. Every single frame of this game could be a wallpaper. And the duels, the one-on-one sword fights in the middle of a field of white flowers or under a blood-red maple tree, they are some of the most beautiful and tense moments in Tsushima. It's an absolute masterpiece of atmosphere and style.
They couldn't defend themselves. And I can't let more of our people die.
Moving on to number 8 is Cyberpunk 2077. This one's a bit different because it's almost entirely first person, and you'd think that would make it feel less like a movie, right? Less control over the camera angles and all that. But somehow, that's actually not the case here. The city itself, Night City, it's a character all on its own. It's this overwhelming, oppressive, but beautiful beast. You're craning your neck to look up at these towering skyscrapers covered in neon ads while you're standing in the grime and filth of the streets below. It just feels like a living, breathing world ripped straight from the best sci-fi films. You play as V, a small-time mercenary just trying to make a name for yourself. A big-time heist goes horribly, horribly wrong, and you end up with a prototype chip in your head that's slowly overriding your own personality.
Downtown, city center.
V.
Yeah, I know. What about you?
And on that chip is the digital ghost of a long-dead rockstar anarchist named Johnny Silverhand. And honestly, the main reason this game feels so much like a movie is Keanu Reeves. He's in your head. He's a constant presence, a ghost haunting your every move, commenting on your choices, arguing with you, sometimes even helping you. The relationship you build with him is this incredibly complex, antagonistic, but ultimately really compelling buddy cop movie from hell. And especially towards the end, the story becomes so incredibly personal and focused on your dynamic with him. No spoilers, but the weight of the decisions you have to make, the conversations you have. Like if you played it, you know what I'm talking about. The performances in those final hours are just perfectly well done. It's a proper, high-stakes, character-driven sci-fi thriller.
Nothing I can do about it. You hear me? I'd puke if I fucking could.
At number 7 is Metal Gear Solid 4 Guns of the Patriots. Hideo Kojima is a film director who just happens to make video games, and this is probably his most unrestrained, most indulgent, and maybe his most brilliant work. Solid Snake, but he's not the hero you remember, he's Old Snake now. His body's rapidly aging, failing him. He's a broken down old man, coughing and clutching his back on one last desperate mission to stop Liquid Ocelot from taking control of the world's war economy. The whole tone is giving this somber vibe. It's the end of an era, and you feel that like in every single moment. And yes, the stories are true. This game it's practically a movie that you get to play in between scenes. It holds the world record for the longest cutscene sequence for a reason. Directed pieces of action, drama, and espionage, the camera work, the editing, the score, it's all handled with the eye of a master filmmaker. A massive, globe-trotting military epic that ties up decades of ridiculously complex lore. You're in war-torn cities in the Middle East, you're sneaking through European streets, you're in the middle of a jungle in South America. It feels huge. It's really raw, brutal, and even emotional, too.
I'm on the side of whoever needs me the most. You dig?
Guns of the Patriots just has to be on this kind of list one way or the other because it's a game that completely blurs the line between playing and watching. And like, it just blurs the line between playing and watching, like I said. And the result is an absolute masterpiece of interactive cinema.
I'm ready to spare the life of every one of you vessels. If you surrender, the doors are open. Come and load.
At number 6 is Wolfenstein 2: The New Colossus. This is one of the only games I've ever played that can give you genuine emotional whiplash. 1 minute you are in the thick of it, dual-wielding fully automatic shotguns, just absolutely liquefying waves of Nazis in this beautiful, cathartic explosion of gore and violence. And maybe 5 minutes later, the action stops, and you're on your submarine base, the Ava's Hammer, and you're not shooting anything, you're just walking the halls of this stolen Nazi U-boat, and it feels like a home. You're listening to two of your resistance buddies have a genuinely touching and heartbreaking conversation about their past. Or you're witnessing a cutscene so bizarre, so audacious, and so darkly hilarious that you're just sitting there with your jaw on the floor laughing while also being deeply uncomfortable. Nazis won the World War, and it's now the 1960s. America is occupied territory. You are B.J. Blazkowicz, but he's not the indestructible, square-jawed hero from the old games. The game literally begins with you in a wheelchair, your body falling apart, dragging yourself through the hallways of your base to keep fighting. He honestly thinks he's dying. His internal monologues? They are something else. It's a raw, poetic, and often heartbreaking look inside the mind of a man who has been fighting for so long, he barely knows who he is without the war. The story it tells is kind of audacious. It's violent. It's hilarious. It's a whole lot of stuffs, and it is fiercely anti-fascist. The villains, especially the terrifyingly cheerful and sadistic General Engel, are unforgettable. And the heroes are a cast of broken, beautiful misfits, all crammed together on this submarine trying to start a revolution. You see, Wolfenstein 2, not just even the New Colossus alone, both the New Colossus and the New Order, is so much more than a shooter. It's a character-driven epic that is just absolutely unforgettable. Yep, at number 5 is The Quarry. And if you've ever played Until Dawn, you know exactly what you're in for here. This is from Supermassive Games. You've got a group of teenage camp counselors at Hackett's Quarry summer camp. Their car breaks down on the last day, so they're stuck there for one more night. And, of course, they decide to throw one last party to celebrate. Bad idea. Very bad idea. Because there's something out in the woods, and it is hunting them. The entire game is about making choices under pressure. It's less about complex controls and more about your gut. You control different counselors throughout the night, and you're faced with constant dilemmas. Do you run? Do you hide? Do you try to be a hero? Do you shoot at what's in the bushes? Every little decision you make can have massive ripple effects, branching the story off in a completely different direction. And just like Heavy Rain, anyone can die in here too, based on your choices. You can end the game with everyone surviving in a golden ending, or you can end it with a total bloodbath where nobody makes it to sunrise. It all comes down to the choices you make, and they really went all out with the cast. You've got David Arquette, Lance Henriksen, Brenda Song, a bunch of recognizable faces, which just adds to that feeling that you're watching and directing this really fun, campy horror movie. It's a blast, honestly, because it kind of captures that vibe of staying up late and watching a creature feature with your friends, except this time, you're the one yelling at the screen, and the characters actually listen.
Singing campfire sing-alongs.
I don't think people curl up right in front of big old fire pits.
Why not?
But that's not all that matters. Who's keeping you safe?
I do not need you to protect me.
So up at number 4, we've got God of War Ragnarok. You really can't create a list like this and not include this one, because it's essential. How do you even follow up a masterpiece like the 2018 game? That was a lightning in a bottle moment. Let's scrap the whole story about the end of the world. I mean, it is that. Fimbulwinter's here, Ragnarok is coming, the 9 realms are in chaos, but that's all just the backdrop, the stage. At its absolute core, this is a story about a father and a son. It's about a father, Kratos, who has seen firsthand how prophecy and destiny can ruin your life. And now he is so desperately, suffocatingly terrified that his son is going to repeat his own monstrous mistakes. And it's about a son, Atreus, who is now a teenager. He's keeping secrets, trying to figure out who he is and what his destiny means, and he's pulling away from the one person he has left. That tension, that raw, messy, complicated family drama, it's the heart of everything. And the performances are cool too. And the scale of everything is colossal. The first time you clash with Thor, it's like 2 natural disasters colliding. It's this earth-shattering event that you can feel in your bones. But for all the god-killing and world-ending stakes, it's the quiet moments. The conversations with Mimir, the small moments of understanding or friction. That's the stuff that gives the whole epic its soul. The way a massive, spectacular battle can flow seamlessly, without a single camera cut, into a quiet, heartbreaking conversation between father and son is just something only this medium can do.
And at number 3 is Marvel's Spider-Man 2. This is Insomniac Games just flexing, pure and simple. The very first 10 minutes of this game, it's bigger and more spectacular than the finale of most other games. You're fighting a city-sized Sandman, seamlessly switching between Peter Parker and Miles Morales as you swing through collapsing buildings. It is just the most incredible jaw-on-the-floor opening to a superhero story. The way you can just swap between them on the fly while you're exploring the city is amazing, but it's the story that really makes it sing. You have Peter, the veteran, who's struggling to balance his life, and Miles, who's really coming into his own as a hero. But then Peter gets the symbiote, and the whole game changes. The way he talks to Miles, the way he talks to MJ, everything eventually gets different, and you feel that in the gameplay. The symbiote abilities are brutal, powerful, and honestly, a little terrifying. You're tearing through enemies with these violent, lashing tendrils, and the sound design, the raw force of it all, it just feels so good, but you know it's wrong. And it's all wrapped up in this incredibly personal story about Peter's best friend, Harry Osborn. The game is honestly about, friendship and desperation and watching someone you love go down a dark path.
And we are all very lucky today, because this is physics class, and physics is awesome.
So next up at number 2 is Alan Wake 2. After waiting 13 years for this game, the story follows Saga Anderson, a very capable FBI agent who comes to the small town of Bright Falls to investigate a series of ritualistic murders. Her half of the game plays out like a season of True Detective, creepy, atmospheric, boots-on-the-ground investigation. You're exploring the foggy woods, interviewing quirky locals, and piecing together the case inside her mind place, which is this literal mental room where you put clues up on a board to make deductions.
The facts are on the board. Everything we know about the previous murders.
It's grounded, it's tense, and it's fantastic. And then you have Alan's side. He's been trapped in the dark place, this nightmarish convention, for over a decade. And his chapters are pure, uncut David Lynch. It's a surreal, reality-bending psychological horror trip through a nightmarish looping version of New York City. He can literally find new plot points and use them to rewrite the reality around him to progress. But the thing that elevates this into something completely different is how the game blends its hyper-realistic graphics with full-on live-action footage. It's jarring, it's disorienting, and it is absolutely genius. There's a section in this game, and if you've played it, you know exactly what I'm talking about, that is a full-blown musical number. Honestly, this is a game that is constantly messing with you, constantly making you question what's real.
What now, Daniel? Is this really what you want? You lied to me! You lied to me!
And finally, at number 1, we have Detroit Become Human. Quantic Dream, the same studio that made Heavy Rain, and this is them taking that concept and blowing it up to a massive scale. The game is set in the near future, in Detroit, where androids are a part of everyday life. They're treated like appliances. They're your nannies, your construction workers, your helpers, but then some of them start to wake up. They start to feel like they deviate. 3 of these deviating androids. You have Kara, a domestic android who goes on the run to protect a little girl. Her story is this gut-wrenching, emotional, fugitive drama. Then you have Marcus, a caretaker android who, through a series of tragic events, becomes the leader of the android revolution. His story is a full-blown political thriller about protest and freedom. And then you have Connor. He's a state-of-the-art prototype, a detective sent by the android company to help the police hunt down deviants. So his story is basically a sci-fi detective noir, where he's forced to confront his own nature while hunting his own kind. The whole game is built on one idea: choice. There's very little gameplay in the traditional sense. It's all about making decisions, often under extreme pressure. At the end of every chapter, it shows you an insane flowchart of all the possible paths you could have taken, and you see just how much your single decision mattered. The story adapts and continues without characters that die, just like in Heavy Rain. It is entirely possible to get all 3 protagonists killed before the final act. The weight of that is immense. It's about seeing what kind of story you create. It really is the ultimate expression of that idea. A movie where you hold the script and you get to decide what happens next. And just before we wrap this up, as an honorable mention, I've got 4 games. Life is Strange.
The Dark Room. What does this even mean? What are you doing here, Max? He's hiding shit.
Uncharted 4.
Are you ready to seek your fortune?
Hang on, Nathan!
Where is the artifact?
Heads up!
L.A. Noire.
Come on, we have a clue. A motive?
What's in it for you, Cole? More glory?
And best of all, a confession.
Are you going to tell me what's going on? Or do more innocent people have to die?
I'm not lying! She got up and left, that was it!
And finally, Star Wars Jedi Survivor.
Part of the job, Custis. The Jedi is a threat.
So, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and also turn on the notification. Lastly, remember to drink water and get some sun. Thanks for watching, and of course, I'll see you in the next video.